Hi, welcome to HRIS 101, the ABCs of HRIS. I realize that there are some students that don't have or haven't had any exposure to a HRIS system in the class. So what I would like to do is, or this presentation, the objective is to give you a quick overview of some of the terms that you'll hear, common acronyms, and also to tell you a little bit about what a HRIS is and how it's put together. So some of the common acronyms and terms that you'll hear are HRIS, which stands for Human Resources Information System. It's basically an application. ATS is Applicant Tracking System. We'll be using the term SAAS, which is Software as a Service, where companies actually use that when they're deploying cloud-based applications. So some common terms related to a HRIS, and just for purposes of this class, we'll talk about enterprise level software. Generally, enterprise level software is anything that will support a company of 2,000 or more employees. We'll talk about integrated versus standalone software. You'll see these terms as well. And then modules. Modules are basically the different functionality in a system. When I talk about modules, I'm talking about the payroll functionality within an HRIS system. Or if it's a standalone product, because there are standalone applicant tracking systems and payroll systems, we'll be talking about those as well. So what exactly is an HRIS? The HRIS is the official database for employee data. Different HR systems have different modules. At a minimum, every system has an employee record, which includes information on the employee, from their personal address to information about their job, who they report to, salary, etc. And modules can be anything. They can be payroll, benefits administration, time and attendance tracking, or applicant tracking. And not all HRIS have the same modules, and vendors offer these modules in different combinations. So for instance, if you were at a large company and you were looking to purchase an HRIS system, you could purchase a system that has built-in analytics, has the payroll, the applicant tracking system, benefits administration, all in one software package. And that there are other vendors that cater to different industries and different size companies that will offer something different. For example, Bamboo HR, which is the HRIS system that we use for our class, caters to companies that have less than 1,000 employees. And what they offer is a bit more basic in terms of there's benefits tracking and administration are two different things, and we'll talk about that in class. They offer payroll, and they offer applicant tracking system. They do have a performance management module as well. But again, every HRIS is different. It really depends on the vendor, who their target market is, the size company that they're marketing to. So the anatomy of an HRIS. Employee records maintains and tracks the employee's job and personal data. Benefits administration allows employees to enroll in the company's benefit programs. And more than that, benefits administration at HRIS allows that whatever the enrollment data is to be sent directly to healthcare vendors, whatever vendor they're using or your company uses for medical, dental, vision. Some systems that actually just have benefit tracking will allow you to store your employee enrollment information for benefits, but that information isn't processed and doesn't get sent out to the vendors that you use. Payroll generates the employee's paycheck, direct deposit. Performance management allows managers and employees to track the employee performance. Applicant tracking system allows candidates to apply for jobs and recruiters to review candidates. And a lot of systems have mobile applications that basically allows you to, as an employee, allows you to request time off and review your pay stubs and do different things directly from your cell phone or iPad. And from an administrative perspective, a lot of companies are also have mobile applications for administrators so that you can actually do some of the day-to-day tasks, such as updating information in the system on an employee or even entering a new hire right from either your cell phone, but more so your iPad or tablet. And, again, most HRIS systems come with the self-service portal. And that's basically when an employee is able to log in and they can see their information, they can update their marital status and all of that. But when we talk about the employee self-service portal, that's what we're talking about when an employee actually logs into the system. So if an HRIS doesn't offer certain modules or the modules don't meet the company's needs, they may purchase a standalone application. So as I mentioned, Bamboo HR offers an applicant tracking system. It's great, but it might not meet the needs of the organization. So there are times when the company will go and purchase a standalone applicant tracking system. And that's basically what it means. It's just either the HRIS that they've chosen doesn't have the module, or the module that's included just doesn't really meet their needs. So some common standalone HR applications include performance management. Lattice and Zugata are very common applications. Applicant tracking system, iCIMS, Taleo, Greenhouse. Payroll, Square Payroll, Intuit Payroll. Employee engagement, that market and those applications have just exploded over the last few years. And those include applications like Amplify and Motivosity. And basically, the employee engagement application tends to be all about, how are your employees feeling right now? They may or may not incorporate a survey that you can deploy to employees, but it's really about being able to keep in touch with your employees and keep a pulse on the organization. And then benefit administration, you can also purchase those as standalone products as well, including Benefit Focus or Ben Select. The HRIS market has there are hundreds of HRIS systems now. When I first started, my very first HRIS system that I implemented was a Microsoft Access database. But since that time, especially starting in the early 2000s, the market for HRIS has just really exploded, and it's hard to just focus on one or two different applications because there's so many out there. HR vendors market to customers based on company size and industry. As I mentioned, Bamboo HR caters more to smaller organizations, whereas Workday is for large Oracle, Cisco, those type of size organizations. Enterprise vendors focus on companies with 2,000 more employees. Vendors like Bamboo HR focus on small to medium-sized businesses with 1,000 or less employees. The majority of HRS products now are web-based, so they're deployed via the cloud. It used to be where you had to get the software disks from the vendor whenever there was an update or whatever, but now everything is deployed via the cloud, so the updates are done behind the scenes and can be done much more regularly. And today HRS products come with an endless variety of functionality. As technology continues to grow, become more efficient, smarter, we're seeing that HRIS vendors are including that functionality and those advances in their systems. Many HRS products started out as a payroll application and either acquired the HR module or built the HR module on top of their existing product. I always like to point this out to students in terms of understanding the differences between a HRIS system that was built from the ground up to be a HRIS system versus a payroll system or payroll company that decided they wanted to get into the HRIS business and slapped it on top of their product. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit biased. I prefer systems that were built from the ground up to be a HRIS, and those systems include things like Workday applications like Workday, Bamboo HR, systems like ADP, Paychex, Paylocity. Those all started out as payroll vendors, and they decided to again incorporate HRIS, or they wanted to get into the HRIS market, so they manipulated their software to include that. Popular HRIS vendors for enterprise-sized companies, Workday is one of the few. Again, I talk about Workday. I will talk about Workday a lot because I think they set a very high standard for HRIS systems overall, especially at the enterprise level. And it was, again, one of the systems that was built from the ground up to use a HRIS. ADP began as I mentioned, a payroll software. SuccessFactors, Oracle HRMS, Oracle PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft was also one of the very first HR systems that was built from the ground up to be an HRIS. The two men who founded PeopleSoft and ran PeopleSoft, once they sold it to Oracle, they actually started Workday. So PeopleSoft has manifested itself differently, and the result of that is Workday, which has been wildly successful. Ultimate Software is also another enterprise-size company or HRIS application. So the small to mid-sized companies, less than 2,000 employees, again, the market is really flooded at this point with HRIS systems, and I couldn't even list the number of HRIS systems out there. And what's great about that now, because of cloud, being able to deploy the application through the cloud, our smaller and smaller organizations are now able to utilize the HRIS. And so, I worked for a company just in 2005, and they were actually quite big. They had over about 450 employees, and everything was being tracked on an Excel spreadsheet. So I implemented the first HRIS system there. And again, now that the technology has really become more efficient and easier to use, secure, really small companies like 25 people or more could buy a very cost-efficient HRIS and be able to do anything that a larger company can do. So the small to mid-sized market, some of the big names there, again, Bamboo HR, namely Gusto. Gusto actually started out as a payroll vendor as well, and they used to integrate with Bamboo HR, and then they decided they wanted to be a HRIS company, so they've changed their software to include HRIS now. Zoomin, Paylocity, and Paychex. Those are also, Paychex has been around for decades, similar to ADP. The majority of the time that the company's been in business, they were actually a payroll vendor. So software as a service, or SaaS, and the HRIS. SaaS is basically a licensing delivery model that allows vendors to charge a subscription rate cost per user per month, while the vendors is responsible for hosting the application. So again, it's no longer the case where we have to get a disk, install the software on everybody's computer, or even install it on a server. Now the vendors, they actually maintain and control the software. They host it, keep it on their servers, and they're able to send it out to different organizations. So again, Bamboo HR charges as little as $6 per employee per month for its software. So you can have a fully functional HRIS for a very small company. Hosted applications are maintained, updated, and etc. by the vendor, as I mentioned. The model has made HRIS and other HR technology more affordable for any company. The majority of HRIS and hosted applications they reside in the cloud. This means companies no longer have to purchase servers or equipment to maintain HRIS applications. So the applicant tracking system, the ATS, the role of the ATS besides the HRIS, I think the ATS is the three major systems for any company usually are the HRIS, the payroll, and the applicant tracking. You can have an HRIS that includes the payroll and the applicant tracking, or there are some companies that have purchased each of those components separately. And again, I think the applicant tracking system is the second most prominent HR tech that is used. It can be every time you apply for a job online, your resume is going into an applicant tracking system, um, even if it's even if it's something where it's the company has its own branded page. When as soon as you click apply or submit, that information is going through an applicant tracking system, and there are different algorithms and everything that are used to find and search for different candidates based on what the requirements are. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later in the class. ATS applications consist of a searchable database for job applicants. Most allow recruiters, hiring managers, and interviewers to screen, track interviews, and rate candidates within the system. More advanced systems will provide analytics on the recruiting functions such as time to hire compared to plan, etc. The applicant tracking market, similar to the HRIS market, has really just exploded. Enterprise level standalone applicant tracking systems applications include iCIMS, Taleo, JobVite. The small to medium-sized business standalone ATS include Greenhouse, Jazz HR, and Workable. So again, just a little bit more about the anatomy of an applicant tracking system. The candidates apply online in the company's website or through a job board like LinkedIn or Indeed, and they'll often you'll upload your resume, sometimes along with your LinkedIn profile. And the data is received and stored by the applicant tracking system, which again can be a module or a standalone product. Once received, recruiters, hiring managers, and interview can see the candidate profile, and they find you by doing searches. I'm sure that a lot of you have heard about keywords and how your resume needs to have the right keywords in order to get found in an applicant tracking system. And the reason why that's very relevant is because the way that we search for anything on Google, it's the same application for an applicant tracking system. If you're looking for a candidate, you can filter them out based on experience, education, all of those things. And if you're looking for specific skills, almost every applicant tracking system gives you the ability to search for specific skill sets. So the applicant tracking system, it then tracks the candidate's activities from the first phone interview to the first in-person interview to the last up through, when you make an offer to someone. And usually the offer details and information approvals are stored in an applicant tracking system. So that was just a very brief overview of the terminology and the world of HRIS. If you have more specific questions or would like to talk about either the HRIS or the applicant tracking system more, feel free to send me an email or even a post on Moodle. Thank you. I also wanted to mention there are some additional resources if you wanted to look into HRISs and the different modules more in depth. Capterra is a website that is one of the best software research websites. It has a section just for HR software, and again, you can go through and find an application basically for anything. Burson.com. Josh Burson is the ultimate guru when it comes to HR technology. And Burson, he is a part of Deloitte Consulting. He had his own firm and then merged with Deloitte. And his website, it contains just a vast amount of information regarding HR technology. I mean, that is basically what they specialize in. Again, thank you, and I look forward to working with everyone this term.